So remember, it's a vigorous inhale, 4 counts in. Hold your breath for 7 counts. Shouldn't be any anxiety about that. And then exhaling 8. So here we go. Exhale everything out, and when you're ready, inhale 4. Hold for 7. Exhale 8. Inhale 4. Hold for 7. Exhale 8. I'm going to let go of the count. You just keep doing it. Inhale 4. Hold for 7. Exhale deeply 8. Make sure the back of your neck stays nice and long. Inhale 4. Hold for 7. Exhale 8. Again, inhale. Hold. Exhale. Last one, inhale. Hold. And exhale. And then just return to your normal breathing. Feeling your body completely supported by the mat. And on your next exhale, draw your knees gently into your chest. So we're going to activate our core and warm our spine a little bit. So on your next inhale, take your heels and your fingertips to the ceiling like you're holding a cardboard box. And then exhale, knees into the chest again. And then arms go overhead, plant your feet. Let the back of the palms tap. And then exhale, knees into the chest again. We're gonna do that 2 more times. Inhale, cardboard box. Heels and fingertips to the ceiling. Exhale, knees into the chest. Nice and fluid. Then inhale, plant the feet, arms over the head, backs of the palms tap the ground. So knees can stay bent. And exhale, knees into the chest. Or you could challenge yourself more by lowering your legs straight. Inhaling, cardboard box. Well, I think I'll keep my knees bent. Exhaling, just tap your feet on the ground. And then knees back into the chest. And then come to that pose where your shins are parallel to the ground and your knees are right over your hips, arms out to the side, so you look like a chair on its back. And we're going to take our knees halfway to the floor. Exhaling to one side. Inhaling through center. Exhaling to the other side. Inhaling through center, so maybe using your inner thighs, keep your knees together. Exhaling. Just go from side to side. Inhale, nice and fluid. Exhaling. And inhaling. One more time each side. Only go as low as feels safe for your low back. And inhale. And exhale. And inhale. And knees back into the chest. And then we're going to take a bridge pose a couple times. So go ahead and plant your feet. Maybe you can touch your heels with your fingertips. Maybe turn your toes in a little bit. We tend to, at least I do, tend to let my toes turn out. And on an inhale, push your shoulders into the mat as you lift your hips. Then exhale, go ahead and drop down. And again, inhaling, lift the hips, push those feet into the ground. And exhale, drop down. So one more time, inhale and lift the hips. We're gonna hold here. If you wanna go deeper, you can interlace your hands underneath you. So lift your sternum more. Think about taking your knees toward your toes and your heels toward your hips. So some dynamic tension there. Stay, get a little bit lighter. You can do this. Positive impact on your spine. And exhaling, gently release your hips down. Go ahead and let the soles of the feet come together and the knees flop open just for a breath or two. So relaxing the hamstrings and the inner thighs. Again, feeling yourself completely supported. Okay, so you're gonna grab hold of your strap and take your right foot and wrap the strap around your right foot. I'm just gonna use my toe. And so you wanna keep your arms straight, pulling your shoulders back toward the mat, and just drawing that femur, the head of your thigh bone, into the hip joint. Couple breaths. Back of the neck still long. And then get ready to go to the side. So you can have your bottom leg either extended out, push onto that top thigh with your left hand, or that bottom thigh with your left hand, or you can take your arm out to the side for some support. So if it's okay with your neck, it's kind of fun to look up and see where your left leg is, and did it splay out to the side already, kind of trying to compensate, or is it still right in line with your hip joint? And then take your leg out to the side. So you might not be able to go as far, but that's okay. Just keep pulling the femur into the hip joint. So both legs really firm, but the upper body nice and relaxed. Pull that belly in, draw the leg back up to center, then release the strap, draw the knee into the chest, and for a moment, take that right leg down to meet the left. You wanted to take a peek at your toes again, look at the difference in the coloring in your feet. Find that fascinating. It's great circulation. So we'll go to the left side, so draw the knee into the chest. I guess I'm maybe just easily amused. And wrap the strap around your left foot and take the heel toward the ceiling. So this side might feel a little bit different. Just keep drawing the hip bone, femur closer into the hip bone. Tucking the ball of the femur joint right into that socket. So set yourself up to go to the side, maybe right hand on the thigh, check in and see that your toes are still in line with your hip if it's safe, and then take that leg out to the side. Keep breathing. And then use all those core muscles to come on back. Exhaling, knee into the chest. And for a moment, take that left leg out to meet the right and see how you're nice and even. Good. So draw those knees into the chest. Rock from side to side. So you could, if you wanted, just rock from the shoulders to the hips, you know, like you would have done when you were a little kid. So we're going to come up to seated. Or you can just safely roll yourself to one side and come on to seated, right? So easy seated twist. This one it's not in the series that Dr. Fishman taught when I did the training, but it is in the next series. So you're going to sit up with your feet to one side. So you can actually get some traction on your wrist too if you tuck your wrist under your thigh, and then you're going to push that base of the palm toward the ground, or maybe you can get it there if you have nice long arms. So sit up really, really tall and twist away from your hips, away from your feet. Remember, on the inhales, we're getting taller. On the exhales, we're twisting further away. Hamstring cramp, Marilyn? Okay. One more breath. And exhaling, gently release. So never miss the opportunity to do a core exercise, maybe safely transitioning through boat pose, right? Where you're going to lift your shins. Fingertips toward the heels. Maybe you want to go deeper. Maybe you want to take your arms overhead or lengthen your legs. Nice. Practice safely. And then we'll go to that easy seated twist on the other side. Sit up really tall. You can do that wrist thing if you want. And exhaling, twist away. So I haven't had my first full bone density scan yet, but when in 2017, maybe 18, I went to this free seminar at the local hospital on osteoporosis, and they did a bone scan on your wrist. And I'm happy to report that according to my wrist, I have the bones of a 28-year-old. Woohoo! That doesn't mean anything, really, about my femur or my pelvis or my spine. Every bone can be different. One more breath. And exhaling, gently release. I'm quite certain that's the only thing in my body that has anything to do with a 28-year-old. So maybe shake out your wrists. And we're going to come onto all fours. Oh, it's just a number, right? Age is just a number. So curl your toes under, walk your hands about one hand length forward, and we're going to come to a downward facing dog. So lift your hips up to the sky and charge your rib cage toward your thighs. Think about rotating your thigh bones inward and your upper arms outward, so the soft part of your elbow points toward the ceiling. So hopefully downward dog is starting to feel good, right? Like rest. Just a super stable place to stay. Then on an inhale, you're going to come to your version of plank. So maybe knees, maybe toes. Stay here for a breath. Just feel how strong you are. And then exhale, chaturanga, chest and chin down to the mat. Try and keep your hips up to the last, and then float your hips down. Point your toes, push the tops of the feet into the mat. We're going to do 3 easy cobras. Maybe today you want to take your fingertips first out to the side and a little forward so you get some space in your shoulder joints and your spine. On an inhale, gently raise your shoulders up and exhale down. 2 more times. Inhale, gently arch. And exhale, release. And again, inhale, gently arch. And exhale, release. And then bring your hands back under your shoulders like traditional cobra. Try not to use your hands this time. Not really using our arm muscles here. We're just going to inhale, take the tailbone toward the heels, keep your feet pushing into the mat, and lift your shoulders. Elbows dropping down like a grasshopper. And just gaze forward. Pinky toes pushing into the mat. Slide your shoulder blade toward your waist. So if you think about keeping your legs firm, but relaxing your glute muscles, your butt muscles a little bit, can you go a little higher? Deep inhale. And exhale, gently release. Make that pillow for your head with your hands. Bend your knees and take your feet from side to side. So before we do another back strengthener pose, I'm feeling the need to stretch my quads. So we're going to do a half bow pose, right? So using a strap or grabbing your pant leg if you can't find your foot. Just gently drawing that heel toward the hip. So we're trying to keep our knees, hips, feet all in line. Often when I have knee pain, it's because my quad's really tight. And exhaling, gently release that side. Maybe wiggle your hips from side to side. And then right away, firming up that leg and reaching for the other one. Opening up the front side of the lower body. And exhaling, gently release. So a couple of options here, all right? You could do a version of locust pose where you're going to reach your hands toward your heels and lift both the heels and the shoulders, or if you wanted to, grab your feet again and do bow pose, you can do that. So you get to decide. You can either do version of locust, lift your heels, reach your fingertips towards your heels, here we go, or you can grab hold of your feet. Don't hyperextend your neck wherever you are, just gaze down or slightly forward. Nice. One more deep breath, get a little lighter. And then exhaling, gently release. Once again, making that pillow for your head with your hands, bending your knees, windshield wiping your feet from side to side. And then release. Go ahead and reset your legs so that you can safely push yourself up onto all fours. Maybe it would feel good to rock your hips side to side and do a little cat-cow, right? So you might want to have a block handy. We're going to come to low lunge on the right leg forward. So we do a little preparation for revolve triangle. That's super challenging pose. So on an inhale, lift your hips up and back, draw your toes toward your knee. So my spine is still nice and straight. So I'm going to think about trying to keep the pelvis level, so I'm not dropping down into my left hip or lifting my right hip. Just nice and level. And then I'm going to take the block to the outside of my right leg. Maybe just keep your hand on your hip. And just as if you were standing, extend your spine, keep your pelvis where it is, and twist from above the waist. It does kind of feel like revolve triangle. Couple more breaths. Nice, and gently release the twist. And bring your body weight back on that front foot. Drop your hips and inhale, sweep your fingertips up in the air. And then exhale. Curl your back toe under and lift your hips up or lift your back knee up and scoot that back foot in. So now we can do the actual revolve triangle. So I've got some space between my heels so that I'm on a safe, wide base. I'm going to extend my spine out parallel to the ground. I'm trying to keep both legs straight, pelvis level. You can even keep your hand on the back of your pelvis. And from the waist, twist toward your front leg. So if I extend my arms straight out from my back without exposing the top of my humerus, my upper arm bone, that's kind of a true measure of where my twist is. If we're like this, with your fingertips to the ceiling, not so much. Pull that right hip back, left hip forward. And exhaling, gently release. Lift that back heel, float the knee back down. Come back to all fours. Maybe rock your hips from side to side. It's an interesting place to kind of feel the difference from one side to the other. Then take your hands forward, curl your toes under, and lift your hips up and back for downward facing dog. Again, kind of using this as home base. I'm just going to flip myself around so I don't have my back to you. So now we're bringing the left leg forward in low lunge. Get there safely. Have your block handy. And then you're going to lift your hips up and back for that hamstring stretch. Kind of our little kneeling revolve triangle practice here. And take the block to the outside of your foot. All right, or you could just use your hand on your ankle or the ground and bring your left hand to your hip. Rotating from the waist. Pelvis nice and level. You got this. And exhaling, gently release. Back to body weight on that front foot so you can curl your back toes under, lift the back thigh, and set yourself up for the real revolve triangle. Right? Or maybe the hand stays on the block, or your hand can come to your shin, your foot. Extend that spine out parallel to the ground. Tuck your tailbone and rotate from above the waist. Maybe your top arm extends out the back. So definitely use a chair, go to a wall. Just practice safely. Use those inner thighs. Come on, we could stay here all day. But let's not. Release the twist. Lift that back heel. Float that back knee down. Bring yourself to all fours. Check in with your body. And then set yourself up for down dog. Curl your toes under, lift your hips up and back. A few restful breaths here. So rest and work. Rest and work. So I'm going to talk right and left, and I'm not going to be your mirror. Lift your right leg way up in the air. Maybe it would feel good today to bend the knee and stack the right knee over the right hip and the right hip over the left hip, like that fire hydrant pose, right? Keep the arms firm. No pain in the low back. And then extend the leg out again. Turn the hips facing the ground and pull that right knee forward, so safely setting up for warrior two. Right. Use those core muscles to stack your shoulders over your hips. So right away, we're going to be here. When you come back to that intention that you set, think about your whole body being on one plane, right? Unless this is too much on your sacrum, in which case you could gently turn your hips a little bit toward your front leg. But if not, keep pulling back, rotating the thighs under. You could even do that with your arms, right? Like make that motion like you're scooping your hips forward and palms facing upward. Deepest breath of the day right here. Inhale. And exhale out. Nice, then windmill yourself back to the front of the mat safely. Scoot your back foot in to meet the front. Easy forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Fingertips under the knees. Exhale, fold again. And reverse your dive. Taking your fingertips up in the air to Tadasana. And exhale your hands to your heart center. And then tree pose, we're going to stand on the left leg, right? So shift your body weight into your left leg. And decide where you want to put your right foot. This is all about loading the body weight on one leg. It doesn't matter at all where your foot is to build bone. Just draw that knee outward as best you can. You could take your arms up, you could take your arms out. Whatever feels right for you. Good work. And exhaling, come on back to Tadasana. Right. So come back to the front of your mat. Inhaling, take your arms up. Exhaling, gently dive forward. Inhale, halfway up. Take that left leg back again. We're going to float the heel down and inward, come back to warrior two so that we can do extended side angle. Right. So forearm floats to the thigh and sweep the tabletop, bringing that upper arm right by your ear. Feel the length, one long line from the fingertips out through that back heel. All right, so we're trying to lower the right ribs toward the thigh. So if you want to work this pose in a different way today, feel free. You can take a bind. You can take your hand to the ground, in front of or in back of your foot. Then look at your big toe and rotate yourself back to high lunge, and we're going to flow here. So top of a push-up plank. Exhale, near chaturanga, knees or toes. So inhale, your choice, cobra or up dog. And then bring yourself right back down to home base, downward facing dog. Couple breaths here. All right, so then you're going to take your left leg up in the air. Let's go flip around. So I'll have my back to you. Okay. Bend that knee. Would it feel good to stack your left side over your right? Fire hydrant pose. Just make more space somewhere. And then extend the leg out, hips turn toward the ground so that we can set up for warrior two. Second side. keep thinking, positive force on the bones. Great practice. So right away, go as deep as you can here. Draw that knee to the back side of the body, push into the outer edge of the extended leg. Just be curious about what you feel. Good. One super deep inhale. And exhale. And then windmill yourself back around to flow again. So top of the push-up plank. Exhaling chaturanga. You pick your back bend. And we'll meet in downward facing dog. So setting up for extended side angle. Left leg up in the air again. Knee into the chest. Come through warrior two. And then float your forearm to the thigh and sweep that upper arm around. So think about rotating the right hip under and forward, left knee to the back side of the body. Go deeper if you want. Body weight centered on both legs, not too much on the bent thigh. Nice. One more. Deep inhale. And exhaling. Lift your back heel. We're going to flow one more time. Top of push-up plank. Exhaling chaturanga. Inhaling cobra or up dog. And one more time, downward facing dog. Couple of breaths. Good, then float your knees down. And if it would feel good on your body, take a child's pose. So support yourself however you need. If child's pose doesn't work for you, stay on all fours, do a little cat-cow. Roll onto your back and hug your knees into your chest. Good, then inhale, everybody meeting all fours. Shifting to one side so that we can do a couple of seated twists. I'm going to start with half seated fish, so I'm going to tuck my left foot by my right hip and cross my right foot over the thigh, if that works for you. You can always sit up on a block. The goal is to keep your both hips rooted into the ground, the sitting bones. But speaking of rooted into the ground, your right foot, that top foot, make sure that's rooted into the ground too, especially the big toe mound. You'll feel how that activates your inner thighs, and already just getting some activity in the hip joint there. So sit up really, really tall, and exhale, twist toward your top leg. Right. You could take your left arm up in the air and take it to the outer thigh. Just a little bit of leverage. So twisting from the waist, root the hips, twist a little more. Find one place to rest your gaze. Back of the neck long. And then on an exhale, gently release. So before we go to the other side, I'm going to offer like cow face legs, right? So I've taken my feet out to the side so that I'm trying to stack my knees one over the other, right? Feel it in the hip joint. This has got to be good for our hips too, right? So again, shouldn't be any knee pain. Sit up tall and then take your body forward if you can. And try and fold that top knee down. If it would feel good to let your head drop down, you could. So if you're not familiar with cow face, on an inhale, come on back up. You would take your left arm up behind you. It's the regular tricep stretch. And then if you could do the bind, that would be your little cow's ear. And your knees are the cow snout. Nice. No pain anywhere, right? Just do what's yours to do right here, right? And exhaling, gently release. Go ahead and uncross those legs, maybe shake them out. And then we're going to do that twist on the other side. So my right leg was on top the first time. Now my left side's on top. Root your left foot, root your pelvis, sit up really tall, and then twist toward your front leg. Maybe you take that right arm up and use it for more leverage. Just keep your shoulders level. Make it about the twist above the waist. If you think about your vertebrae as Oreo cookies, you want to keep all the cookies stacked and they're just rotating around one another. Keep your stack nice and neat. And exhaling, gently release if it works for you. So if this cow face knees don't work for you, you could just take an easy seated pose and fold forward. You're still going to get some of the benefits in the hips, right? So my feet are out to the side, sitting bones both rooted, and then maybe coming forward. Maybe only come forward 1/4 inch. See if you can really exhale into your pelvis. We tend to hold on there. Maybe it would feel okay for you to let your head drop. So gently bring your shoulders back over your hips if you want to do that tricep stretch. The other side, or try and find your bind. Keep the lower body rooted. And exhaling, gently release. Uncurl yourself. Come back to all fours. Just check in with your body. Maybe rock the hips from side to side. You have one more standing pose, so bring yourself through downward facing dog. Nice long, deep breath here. Unfolding. And you're going to take your right leg up in the air so that you can bring it forward. So setting up warrior two legs again. Heels, back heel down and inward. So still using what's left of our core strength to come to warrior two legs, and then inhale, straighten your front leg. So we're going to triangle, right? So we're going to soften the knees. Should feel like super nice and open and stretchy. You're gonna tilt your rib cage toward your right thigh, firm up that right leg. Maybe your hand goes to your thigh or your shin. Again, we're trying to bring those bottom ribs toward the ground. Open up your heart and then take your top arm up. So get that squish between two pieces of glass feeling if you can. Curl in those hips, under and forward. Nice. Maybe you gaze up at your fingertips. Do it safely. Now feel like somebody's pulling on that top wrist. Come on back up. And then just turn those toes inward. So we end up in a straddle. Lift your chest. Just take one easy forward fold here. You've earned it, right? Maybe the hands go to the block or to the ground. Or you could grab the outside of your feet. Or you could take your hands underneath you and walk them to the backside off your mat. If you know a way to go deeper in this pose, feel free. And then soften your knees, bring your hands back under your nose, and then palms to the thighs, and come up with a flat back. So triangle on the other side. Left toes point out. Bend your knees a little bit, shock absorbers so that you can tilt your pelvis. So you can always go back up against a wall, hand to the thigh, the shin. Scoop those hips under and open your heart. And then take your top arm up. Soften the jaw. Give yourself a gold star for being consistent. Maybe gaze upward. And then feel like somebody's pulling on that top wrist to bring you right back up. Shoulders over the hips, just so that we can windmill ourselves around. Coming through high lunge. Top of a push-up plank. Exhaling, float your knees down and take yourself back to a child's pose. And then walk your hands over to the right. Way far forward, and stack your left hand over your right, maybe even interlacing the fingers so that you can pull your left hand with your right hand as you rock your hips back toward the left. So super deep side stretch. And then come back to center. And now come up to all fours and take that left hand under the body for thread the needle. So my hips are right over my knees now. So again, stretching that left side, but also the shoulder joint, dropping your left ear to the mat or to a block. So if you turn your left palm facing up and then maybe down, just notice how it feels in your shoulder joint. So plant your right hand by your nose. Don't put any weight on your left arm yet. Raise it up to the sky. Kind of a unwinding counter pose. And gently release. And then take your hips back towards your heels again for child's pose. And walk your arms over to the left. Stack your right hand on top of your left, maybe interlacing your fingers so that you can get some leverage and pull that right hand forward as you rock your hips back toward the right. And then come back to center. Raise your hips over your knees and tuck your right arm under for thread the needle. Easy side stretch, shoulder stretch. Maybe turn the right palm facing up and then the right palm facing down. Just notice how that feels. And then bring your left hand by your nose. Don't put any weight on your right arm yet. Take it up to the sky. And exhaling, gently release. So here's the time where you get to finish up your practice, right? Take 8 or 10 breaths to decide if there's any pose we didn't do that your body feels like doing. Maybe it's another bridge pose or a back bend or an inversion. So just take a few minutes to settle in, right? So if you've done a pose that requires 2 sides, go ahead and finish up on the other side. And then go ahead and take your Shavasana. So all this movement, so we can be still. So if you had set a particular intention, let it go. Simply follow the air in and out through your nostrils. And then let that go. Bringing your attention more toward your third eye, the wisdom, right in the middle of your brow. So decide how you'd like to get moving again. All right, ready to begin again. Wrists, ankles, maybe a big stretch. Maybe curl yourself into a ball. Eventually pushing yourself back up to seated. So bringing your hands to your heart center. Remember to do what you can with what you have where you are. Thanks for practicing with me, building strong bones. The spirit in me honors the spirit in each of you. Namaste. You know what, Susie? I had a long debate with myself over that. You know what? So if you want to stand up and do tree pose on the other side, standing on your right leg. No, this is so funny because I had this long debate with myself as we were finishing that flow, because I recorded a video before this practice, and I know that I did tree pose on both sides, and I got it confused with this practice. So thank you for pointing it out. So you know what we're going to do if you're in tree pose? We're going to multitask and sing happy birthday to Mary Lynn. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mary Lynn. Happy birthday to you. Woo! Okay. Now, finish up your practice. Thanks, Suze. I knew I was confused.